Hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's celebration for the launch of my book, Embracing Her Inheritance. I'm glad you're here. I'm excited. It's my 11th book, so I'm glad you're here to celebrate with me. Tonight's going to be pretty laid back. I am going to do a reading, and I'll give a little bit of introduction to that so that you're not completely lost. Especially if you haven't read book 1 and 2, you won't know who anybody is. I am giving away a signed copy of the book, but in order to choose somebody, you will need to leave a comment. So I know that you're here. I'm hoping this is all working. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to see your comments. I am streaming this through StreamYard. I've never done a YouTube live before, so this is a first for me. But, you know, there's a first for everything, right? Yeah. Tammy, great to see you here. Thanks for letting me know you can hear me. My camera seems to be a little bit out of focus, but I can't do anything about that. So yeah. Let me just dive in, I guess, with explaining a little bit about the book. I know that a lot of people often wonder where writers get their ideas. And so let me start with that one while other people get here. This whole series started with a writing assignment from a Jerry Jenkins course that I took way back in the early 2000s. I had to write just one scene of a fiction story, and I came up with this idea of a cattle rancher who wanted to buy a magazine, who wanted to invest in this magazine, and another woman who wanted to buy the same magazine. So they have this meeting. The magazine was a cattle rancher's magazine, and he challenges the city girl with, you know, what do you know about ranching and yada yada. And so that I wrote this scene, and it was several years later that I decided I had really enjoyed writing that one scene for the class, and I wanted to take those same two characters and develop it into a book. To say the least, the idea morphed a lot. So it wasn't the matter of the two of them fighting over buying a magazine, but I still had essentially the same two characters. And so that's what birthed this whole series. I initially wrote the one book with the intent that it was just going to be the one book. But I left it open. I had the kind of ending to book 1 that would allow me to write another book with the same characters if I decided I wanted to. Well, I had enough people leaving comments in their reviews on that first book with, I hope there's a second book. I hope there's a second book. And so my fans encouraged me, and I decided, okay, I'll write a trilogy. And that's how this whole series came about. So Paula, glad to see you're here. Lori, thanks for being here. Friends all, I love it that friends are here so they can celebrate with me. And actually, I was going to give away a stuffed skunk, but I wasn't able to find one in time. And you might think, well, a skunk, why a skunk? Oddly enough, I like the smell of skunks. Not that I go seeking the scent or anything, but I don't mind it when I smell it. And I actually kind of like skunks, and I think that is because as a kid, when I saw the movie Bambi, my favorite character was Flower, the skunk. And I've just always kind of had an affinity for skunks. And so a year or two ago, I decided I was going to have a mascot for my business. And I thought, what better mascot but a skunk? And so I have a skunk mascot. And I reached out to my subscribers to help me name the mascot. And so My mascot's name is Clementine. I call her Clemmy most of the time, and you will see her pop up in my social media posts. She sometimes pokes her nose into my emails as well. And she makes her debut in book 3. She's so excited about that debut. So let me go ahead and move into the reading. First of all, hopefully, let's see. Here's the book. Yay! Yay! I love the covers. What I'm going to be reading tonight is about a fourth of the way into the book. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the characters, the two main characters in this scene that I'm going to read, actually, I'm going to read a good part of it, chapter 6, not the whole thing, but it's a good portion. The two main characters here are Sally and Chase. Sally is the main character of the book. She's a 15-year Marine veteran. And then there's Chase, who is the son of the cattle rancher who left an inheritance for Sally. That all comes out in book 1. So also popping up in this scene is Sally's twin sister, Abby, who is the adopted sister of Chase. I've got to make that very clear. Abby is adopted. Sally discovers Abby through the inheritance. Also in this scene is Cohen. Cohen made his debut in the series in book 2 when Sally and Abby were stranded in a church during the blizzard. So now as book 3 opens, they are in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, which is Sally's hometown, and they have come there for Sally's father's funeral. And Chase decides to come down to Scottsbluff to help Sally sort through her father's estate. This particular scene, I'm going to have to put my glasses on, like I said, is about a quarter of the way into the story. A dress hadn't graced my body in decades. Give me a pair of blue jeans any day. So who was I to say what Abby needed for her date? After some quick searching on the internet, we found a boutique and headed off. We perused the store for several minutes. Strapless, frilly cocktail dresses that would barely cover the necessities occupied one corner. In another, shimmery, long-sleeve, floor-length dresses. While I walked the floor, I got a text from Chase. I want a few words with Cohen before he takes Abby out. Expect me at your room at 6:25. I'll take you to dinner afterwards. Anything wrong? Abby asked. I looked up from my phone. No, just Chase texting me he'd take me to dinner. Mind, not asking, but telling me. Abby snickered. In that case, this would be perfect for you. She held up a sapphire blue, form-fitting, long-sleeve, mid-calf dress with no scoop to the neckline. The color alone grabbed my attention. That's gorgeous. But we're here to shop for you, not me. I frowned and pointed for her to put the dress back on the rack as if admonishing a 4-year-old. I'll make you a deal then. Abby had that mischievous look on her face again, one that I was growing familiar with. I crossed my arms and cocked my eyebrow at her. I'm listening. I'll buy a dress to wow Cohen if you'll buy a dress to wow Chase. I never should have told her Chase was taking me to dinner. How was I going to get out of this? I stared at myself in the hotel bathroom mirror. I'd question this purchase for the rest of my life. What an insult to this beautiful, sophisticated blue dress to drape it over my straight-as-a-board figure, like putting a formal gown on a scarecrow. I didn't have any of the right curves. Besides, what kind of message would Chase think I was sending? This wasn't an official date, was it? Abby, this was a terrible idea. Abby entered the bathroom. You look gorgeous. Slinky, even. Wish I had your figure. Like a stick, you mean? Running 3 miles a day helps. Not gonna happen. And you don't look like a stick. Let's add some mascara, blush, and a bit of curl to your hair. She plugged in her curling iron, then rooted around in her toiletry bag for the mascara and blush. Here, she handed me the items. You do know how to put these on, right? If I search my brain's archive, I might figure it out. And it would require searching the archive. Abby laughed, then proceeded to curl my hair. How she would manage to curl my 2-inch long hair was a mystery to me. This dress demands curves I've never had and never will. Tell me again, why did I let you talk me into this? I wrapped my arms around my waist. A sensation of vulnerability permeated my gut and burned like a hot poker. Because you want me to impress Cohen. She released the first curl and started on another. Oh, yeah. But this isn't me, Abby. I feel like the truth hurt too much to admit. Like what? Abby released the second curl and deftly started on another. How can I say this? I know your heart's in the right place, but I swallowed the words I wanted to say. I felt like a fake. I wasn't pretty, and no amount of dress up would change that. I don't want to give Chase the wrong impression. Isn't the idea to let Chase know you're interested? No, this was your idea. But aren't you interested? Kind of. But it's too much. At exactly 6:25, I heard a knock at the door. I figured it was Chase, but I didn't want to answer it. I froze at my place by the table, as though standing at attention in front of the commanding general. I wasn't ready to face him. That's probably Chase. Abby slipped her heels on. Let me answer. I want to see his face when he sees you. She went to the door. I had a straight line of vision and nervously watched to see who it would be. Hi, Abby. You look gorgeous. Cohen's eyebrows nearly reached his hairline and his eyes bugged out. Perfect for where I plan to take you. Shall we go? Abby reached for the winter coat she bought along with the dress. Wait a minute, I hollered, and stepped halfway to the door. How could I stall them long enough for Chase to get there? Sally, is that you? Cohen's eyebrows made an abrupt drop to the bridge of his nose. Of course it's me. That man exasperated me. You look so different. You have Abby to thank for that. This is not the real me. Hello again, Cohen. Cohen's surprise over my looks afforded the time needed for Chase to appear. I recognized his voice, but couldn't see him from my position in the room. Cohen turned away from Abby. Chase, wasn't it? Abby's brother? Yes, Abby said. He's here helping us take care of Sally's father's estate. Nice to meet you again, Chase. Maybe we can get better acquainted while you're here in town. Cohen's geniality with Chase surprised me. Cohen had been so panicked the whole time we were stranded that his friendly, calm demeanor now didn't jive with the man I knew. I'd like that. Maybe sometime this weekend. I'm only in town for a few days, Chase said. At the moment, I'm here to take Sally to dinner. Abby stepped into the hallway, and Chase stepped into her place in the doorway. I held my breath, waiting for his reaction. Our eyes met briefly, then he leaned into the hallway, presumably to watch Abby and Cohen. How disappointing was that? I knew this had been a terrible idea. I nearly bolted for the bathroom to wash off the makeup and change clothes, except I would have to pass Chase to get there. Steady, Marine. Stand your ground. Waiting for a grenade to explode was less nerve-wracking. Finally, Chase stepped into the room, shut the door, and looked at me. Holy cow! He stepped up to me, grabbed my hand, and slowly twirled me around. My heart knocked my vocal cords out of place as he admired me. I felt his eyes on me much the same way I felt them at our first meeting over dinner in Kansas City. I suspected then he wasn't impressed with what he saw. What was he thinking now? His turquoise and black Western shirt, black pants, and Stetson dumped a passel of butterflies loose in my stomach. I thought the idea was to wow Cohen, not me. That's what I told Abby, but she insisted I buy a dress too, or she wouldn't. What choice did I have? None, I guess, if you insist on playing matchmaker. I had to bite my tongue to keep from reacting when I first saw you. Didn't want to give Abby any fodder for teasing me with later. Who's to say I won't tell her? No one. Sally. He took another step closer to me, so close his minty warm breath caressed my cheek. His eyes locked on mine. You're dressed much too fancy for hungry man's, and I'm in the mood for a steak. Where should we go? He turned abruptly and headed to the door. What had he intended to say and couldn't? Or had he wanted to kiss me? Oh, there you have it. The first truly romantic moment between Chase and Sally. I hope you enjoyed that. Now it's a Q&A time, so definitely feel free to put your questions in the comments so that I can answer them for you. Otherwise, we'll pick a winner and we'll be done, and I think that's just a little bit too short. So does anybody have any questions? Anybody questions about, my writing process, how the book came about? And I did explain a little bit of that, but thanks, Tammy. Glad you enjoyed the excerpt. It was a big hit at the book launch party that I had on Saturday. I had a launch party at a local bookstore here in town. I read that same piece, and yeah, it really captured. I think, there was one person there that had already read the book because a friend of mine that goes to church with me, she had gobbled up book 1 and book 2, so I got her book 3 early. But the other people that were there actually bought a copy of the book after hearing the reading. And wonderfully, the bookstore owner herself bought the whole set. So that was a surprise for me and a real joy. We had a cake, and guess what? I forgot to take pictures. So there was a friend that was there who did take some pictures, and I am hoping to get those pictures from her so that I can share it on my Facebook page. But questions, please, questions. Are there any of the characters based on people you know? Thank you, Lori. Are any of the characters based on people that I know? Well, like most writers, the characters in my books all share qualities of people that I know. And of course, I actually threw a lot of myself into the character of Sally. So anyone who knows me fairly well that reads this series, they're going to, see snippets of my own personality. The short blonde hair, the fact that I was a Marine. However, I did not spend 15 years in the Marine Corps. So, and I was not in the MPs. Sally was in the military police. I was in motor transport. So yeah, most of the time my characters all have snippets of personality and temperaments of people that I do know. Will there be any spin-offs with the other characters' stories? I'm laughing, Tammy, because I just talked about that this morning with my accountability group. Um, at this point, I really don't know. If I was to do a spin off series, I think I probably would start with the Chase's twin sons, Peter and Gabe. Um, Maybe because I have an affinity for twins, being that I'm a twin myself, and that's partly why I made Abby and Sally twins in the story, because I'm a twin. Abby and Sally are actually identical twins. I'm not, but I'm sure that a lot of people probably would like to read a book that spins off from Abby, because in book 3, spoiler alert, there's a romance that develops between Cohen and Abby. So I'm sure that a lot of people would love to uh, probably read about that. And several of my beta readers have all said the same thing: is there going to be yet another book with these characters? So great question. That's the best answer I can give you. I just don't know for sure. Let's see. What was your process in developing the stories from that first scene writing assignment? Did I jot them down as they came to me? Actually, no, I didn't. I had just that one scene, and I actually had to go through a lot of brainstorming and a lot of figuring out the plot to come up with what I finally did come up with. So it wasn't a matter of an idea here and an idea there that I jotted down. I just sat down and made the decision I was going to write the novel, and then started trying to figure it out. I don't even remember how I came up with the idea for the inheritance. Um, Claiming her inheritance. I want to say that launched in 2020. I don't quite remember. It might have even been 2019. So Paula, I really can't remember how I came up with that idea. But no, my process generally is that when I decide to write a book, I sit down and I brainstorm and I work through ideas. I write those down, and then develop them from there. Um, when in general, if an idea for something comes to me, I will write that down. I have an idea book, and I write it down in my idea book just enough so that when I go back to it, it jogs my memory of the whole concept of the idea that I had. But in general, when I'm working on a book, the ideas don't come to me except when I actually sit down to work on the book. Paula's got another question. Thank you. I love these questions. Do Sally and Abby know they are sisters? When they first meet, no. And this all comes out in book 1. So part of the inheritance that Sally gets from this cattle rancher required her to spend 4 weeks at their ranch. And they know, on that end, they suspect that, Abby learns that she's adopted, that her parents never told her she was adopted. She finds out after her father dies, and this all comes out in the inheritance. And in book 1, Sally is at the ranch, and the next day after she arrives, she's in the dining room for breakfast, and she sees a picture of Abby. And it's like, what am I doing on your wall? That was literally the words in the book. What am I doing on your wall? So she was very startled. They don't know for certain that they are identical twins, though. Their voice is the same. They look the same. A lot of their mannerisms are the same. And they pretty much conclude that they are, even though they don't have DNA confirmation, at least not in the first book. So Oh, next question from Tammy. You write fiction and nonfiction. Which do you find easier to write and why? Actually, I find nonfiction easier to write, and that's because I don't have to come up with the ideas. I already know what it is I'm going to talk about. So that the nonfiction usually just kind of flows right out of me. Whereas in fiction, you're making up a story. And I'm a bit of a plotter, but at the same time, I'm what people would call a pantser, where I don't have it all figured out when I sit down to write. So I might have the basic ideas of how I want a scene to go, but for the most part, I'm not positive. And so I'm just writing, and the ideas, are kind of just coming out of me as I write. There are times when I get stuck, and I will just stop and say, okay, Holy Spirit, I need some inspiration here. I need some guidance from you. And the Holy Spirit will give me ideas. It's wonderful. Um, he actually gave me an idea for a rattlesnake in the first book that required me to go all the way back to the beginning to make adjustments to accommodate the rattlesnake showing up later on in the book. But by far, I find nonfiction much easier to write. However, my passion truly is to write the fiction. I actually wrote 5 nonfiction books and published those before I ever got my first novel fiction book published. So yeah, I'm pretty much dedicated to writing fiction from here on out, but I'll probably have a couple of more nonfiction books in there too. Yeah. Great question, Tammy. Thank you. Lori, another writer. I love it when writers ask those writer questions. What is your writing routine? Do I write at the same time every day? Do I aim for a certain number of words, or do I just work project to project? Great questions, Lori. Um, Writing process it's unique to every person, and I think a lot of writers actually think that they should be doing things in a certain way, but it's what fits your personality. um, I try to write in the mornings because I'm very much a morning person, and that's when my mind is the freshest and the most creative. um, However, I can sit down 9, 10 o'clock at night and write as well. So but generally, my routine is to do my writing in the morning. And there again, I try to do it every morning, 5 days a week at least, but I don't always accomplish that. Um, and I don't, well, I can't say that I have a specific word count that I aim for. I allow myself a certain amount of time. So I allow myself 2 hours each day to write. So however much I get written in that time slot is what I get written. Um, if I have more than one project going, there are times when I will flip back and forth from one project to another, but generally I stick to just the one project. The one thing that I think is maybe different from a lot of other writers is that the first thing I do is reread what I wrote the day before. I will edit a little bit of that, and in the sense that if I see a typo or there's a word like that, I think, oh no, there's a much better word, and then I'll fit in a better word. But what that does for me is that it helps my mind get my mind back to where I was at that point in the story, and then allows me to continue. Otherwise, I think I would be just kind of lost. It just helps to ground me at what point I was at in the story when I quit the day before. Let's see. Love the line, "What am I doing on your wall?" Reminds me of the 1960s Parent Trap movie. I've seen that movie. Oh, is there a similar scene in that movie? I hope I didn't steal that idea. And Tammy is saying the set of books are contemporary fiction. Yes. If I didn't write contemporary, what other fiction genre would interest me? Probably historical. Definitely. I grew up on westerns, and maybe that's just part of my age. Um, a lot of the TV shows that were on in the late 50s and early 60s were westerns. John Wayne, cowboy. So I love the whole cowboy idea, which is probably why I have a cowboy in my fiction that I've written. So I probably would find some point in the era of cowboys and definitely in the West versus the east side of the country. Um, but I don't know. I like history. I'm not brave enough, Tammy, to do what you're doing, which is to write the biblical fiction, which is like eons ago. But I love reading historical fiction. So yeah, probably historical would be my choice. Thanks for asking. Love these questions. Love these questions. Uh, let's see. Two little campers who didn't like each other, and someone points out they look like. Oh yeah, yeah, The Parent Trap with Haley Mills, the original. That was a good movie. Oh, Lori, you're asking a question I don't have an answer to. I don't know what my next project is going to be. Um, I'm leaning toward two things. One is memoir, which, yeah, nonfiction. And the other is a story that I started way back in I don't know, early 99 or maybe 98. Do you guys remember the whole big hoopla about Y2K and how computers and all this stuff that we had, um, the technology that we had couldn't handle when we clocked over to the year 2000? And so I came up with an idea that was somewhat not post apocalyptic, but post computer crash, so to speak. But I didn't develop the plot enough. And so I got to a certain point and didn't know where to take it. I'm really leaning on going back to that story and finishing it, developing it again. Definitely, as with the world the way it is today, it would definitely fit in with the whole technology of little chips under your skin that identify who you are and all this kind of stuff and government control. Um, it definitely, I think, would be something that would pique someone's interest, but um, it's something I'm going to have to pray about. I'm definitely going to have God's leading on what I start on next. So, but great question. Sorry, I can't give you an answer, a definitive answer. I haven't started on either. I have been busy writing guest blog posts, so I am still writing. Actually, just uh, not working on a book. And Tammy's asking if I'm taking part in NaNoWriMo. I'm not. I'm not. I did once and discovered that it really takes a lot of your time. Now, this was when did I do that? I've lived here in this apartment for over 10 years. It's been more than 10 years ago when I took part in that. And I think I only had just the one published book at the time. So definitely my writing ability and discipline and routine was not what it was. It wasn't then what it is now. So I probably could pound out 50,000 words in a month. But because I was at the point of launching a new book, there was no way I was going to try to do NaNoWriMo, especially when it was like not even knowing what my next project was going to be. So I put in the chat if you're doing that yourself, Tammy. I know you talked about actually doing it a little bit. So if there's anybody here that hasn't left a comment in the comments, put your name in the comments so that I have your name to pick from for my prize, a signed copy of the book. Tammy said, "Oh, you've only got 2,000 words so far, I think it is." Well, that's okay. That's 2,000 words that you didn't have before, so that's great. Are there any other questions? Did I miss a question as I skimmed through the comments? Let me skim back through. Oh, here's one from Paula. I don't think I got this. Oh, I guess, yeah, I did get that question. I guess I've got all the questions, so if anybody else has any more questions. So Paula is saying, as a new writer, soon to be author, tell us your planning discipline for book launch, book signing event, etc., to promote your books. Well, you guys are really calling me on the carpet today. In all honesty, I don't have the kind of discipline for that I need. That is something that I really need to develop. And I'll be totally transparent here. I know it's difficult for me because I don't believe in myself enough. Growing up with the things that I've grown up with, and like a lot of writers, I've always questioned who wants to read my books, and who am I to write a book, and yada yada. There's thousands of different doubts out there that plague a lot of writers. But I know that truly for me, it is just that I don't have enough confidence in myself to promote myself the way I need to. And I'm working on that. I'm changing that. This live YouTube is a part of that growth process. So thank you for asking that, Paula, because it is important. I mean, we write books because we want to change lives, whether it's changing lives through our fiction or through nonfiction. But we can't change lives if people don't know the book is out there. So it's very important that we do what we can to get our book out there. And really, a lot of us, I mean, a lot of writers are introverts, and people kind of misunderstand that word to a degree. An introvert is just simply a person who recharges their emotional and physical energy by being alone rather than being around other people. Whereas extroverts, they get charged up and recharged and excited by being around a lot of people. So promoting a book and having live events, that requires being around people. I enjoy it. I mean, it's not like I don't like going to a party, but I do like coming home to the solitude of my little apartment. And so yeah, that is part of actually teaching yourself to overcome those things and step out there and do what needs to be done in order to promote your book, in order to promote yourself, to reach out to individuals, to reach out to bookstores, podcasters, whoever it might be. It takes stepping out of your comfort zone, and nobody likes to do that. So thanks, Paula. That's really great question. Great question. Let's see. And Paula says, that's comforting. Our confidence is in God, who gives the stories to us, right? Yes, our confidence it definitely is in God. So, oh goodness, I should have written names down. Tammy, can you do me a favor? Can you just so eeny, meeny, miny, mo with the people that have left comments and draw a name for me? That would be awesome. Tammy's been my business partner for the last 5 years from Cross River Media. And she first took me on with Cross River Media as an editor way back in 2014. So, and we knew each other. I don't know how long we've known each other. We met not too long after I moved here to St. Joe, Missouri. I live in St. Joe, an hour north of Kansas City. Tammy lived here at the time. She doesn't anymore, but we met through a mutual writing friend, and it's been a wonderful journey with Tammy. Yeah, known each. Oh no, we haven't known each other since 2004, Tammy. I didn't move here until 2005, so maybe it was 2006. Paula, you are the winner of the signed copy of my book. So um, email me your address. You have my email, so I won't put it in the comments. But yeah, you are. Congratulations. You've won a copy of the book. I hope you enjoy it. I will get it mailed out to you tomorrow. Are there any other questions? What do you think? I hope those of you that read the book like the way the skunk appears. One of my beta readers, author Kathy Krabby, she had a really wonderful comment about one of the love scenes in the book, and she said, "Best love scene ever," and asked if Hallmark was coming after the book. So, yeah, guess. Skunk and love scene. So, how do those two things fit together? Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be any more questions, so I will go ahead and close. Thank you so much for being here just to help me celebrate. We need to celebrate our wins and our accomplishments, and it's so much more fun to do that with friends. So thank you for being a part of today's book launch. I really appreciate that. And I know each one of you that came, I know each one of you personally and your writers, and I want to encourage you to continue your writing journey. Seek God as you do it, and know that He's going to give you the ideas that you need. He's going to help you get over the obstacles and the hurdles that come along as you're working, and know that those books that you're writing are going to impact lives. So I want to encourage you, and I look forward to all of your books eventually making it onto the bookshelf. Lori, I'm looking forward to your next book. I don't know what it might be, but I'm looking forward to it. And Tammy and Paula, definitely keep me posted on your progress, and I'm excited. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Good night.